In the fading years of the warring states, when the land of the rising sun was torn between ambition and ruin, there lived a Ronin named Takeshi. Once he had been a proud retainer of Lord Takeda, sworn to the code of Bushido with every fiber of his being. But war is a river that drowns even the most steadfast stones. During the fall of Takeda Castle, Takeshi had been ordered to hold the western gate. He had done so, until he saw the village below in flames and chose to lead a handful of men to save the innocent rather than reinforce his lord's final stand. The castle fell. Lord Takeda died with Takeshi's name on his lips as a curse. Branded a traitor by the survivors, Takeshi became masterless. His honor a tattered banner he carried only in his own heart. For 3 winters he wandered. Hunger, duels, and the cold indifference of former allies wore at him like wind on mountain stone. Then, in a rain-soaked tea-house on the edge of the province, a blind priest spoke of the Sirai no Mori, the forest of spirits. "It is no ordinary wood," the old man whispered. "It is the place where the veil between worlds is thin as silk. At its heart grows the tree of forgotten vows. Those who reach it with a pure question may receive an answer that mends the soul. Or breaks what remains of it." Takeshi had no gold left to offer, only the last of his dignity. He bowed low. "Then I will ask the forest why I am still alive when better men are dust." He entered the forest at dusk. The trees were older than any castle. Their trunks were so wide that 10 men could not encircle them. The air smelled of wet moss, cedar resin, and something sweeter, like the memory of cherry blossoms in winter. Almost immediately the path vanished beneath a carpet of glowing mushrooms and twisted roots. Mist rose in silver veils, swallowing the world behind him. Soon even the memory of the road felt like a story someone else had told Takeshi. The whisper came from every direction at once. He drew his katana, Kage no Kiri, shadow cutter, in a single smooth motion. The steel sang. Nothing moved. Only the mist, coiling like living thought. He sheathed the blade. Rectitude, he reminded himself. To draw steel without need is to invite chaos into one's own house. Night fell like a judgment. He made a small camp beneath a cedar whose lowest branches formed a natural roof. As he sat in Seiza, the visions began. First they came in the fire. He saw the burning village he had saved. He saw the faces of children who now lived because of his choice. Then he saw Lord Takeda's final moments, alone on the tower, watching his retainer ride away. The old shame rose like bile. A soft voice spoke from the darkness beyond the firelight. "You carry the weight of 2 graves, warrior. One for the lord you failed. One for the lives you chose instead." Takeshi did not reach for his sword. "Who speaks?" A figure stepped into the circle of light. It was no larger than a child, with skin the color of fresh birch bark and eyes like liquid moonlight. A Kodama, a tree spirit. It regarded him without fear. "The forest remembers every choice," it said. "Most who enter seek power to erase their past." "What do you seek, Takeshi of the Broken Oath?" "Understanding," he answered. "And, if the kami allow it, the strength to carry what cannot be undone." The Kodama tilted its head. From its palm it offered a single leaf that glowed with soft green fire. "This will not light your way forever. Only until you learn to see in the dark the forest prefers. Walk carefully. The next test wears a prettier face." Takeshi accepted the leaf with both hands and bowed. When he looked up, the spirit was gone. Only the glowing leaf remained, pulsing like a second heartbeat against his palm. He walked through the night. The forest changed around him. Trees grew closer, their branches interlocking into natural archways. Strange flowers opened in the dark, releasing perfume that smelled of both spring and grave soil. Twice he heard the clash of phantom steel, echoes of battles fought centuries before. He did not investigate. Near midnight he reached a narrow gorge spanned by a fallen log slick with moss. On the far side stood a woman in a white kimono embroidered with silver foxes. Her hair fell to her waist like black water. She smiled, and the smile was older than the trees. "Lost samurai," she called sweetly. The crossing is treacherous. Let me guide you. Takeshi recognized the shape of the trap even as his heart stirred at her beauty. Kitsune. Shapeshifter. Trickster. He stepped onto the log anyway. Halfway across, the wood began to dissolve into mist beneath his feet. The woman's form flickered, 9 tails of silver fire briefly visible behind her. Most men would have drawn their blade by now, she purred. Or begged for help. You simply walk. Why? Because fear is a poor counselor, Takeshi said, continuing forward. And because I have already lost everything worth clinging to. What more can you take? The kitsune laughed, a sound like wind chimes and distant thunder. The log solidified again. She stepped aside as he reached the far bank. You interest me, Ronin. Most seekers arrive with hunger in their eyes. You arrive with questions. I will give you one truth for free: the greatest danger in this forest is not the spirits. It is the man you were before you entered. He still walks with you. She vanished. In her place lay a single white feather that smelled of lightning. Takeshi tucked it into his obi beside the glowing leaf and walked on. Dawn brought no sunrise, only a deeper, greener twilight beneath the canopy. He came upon a clearing where the ground was littered with rusted armor and broken swords. In the center stood another samurai. Or what had once been one. Black vines grew from the joints of his armor. His eyes burned like coals. I sought the heart to avenge my clan, the corrupted warrior rasped. The forest gave me strength. Now it owns me. It will own you too. They fought. The corrupted one moved like a falling tree, slow but unstoppable. Each strike shook the ground. Takeshi fought as he had been taught, not to overpower, but to redirect. He used the glowing leaf to momentarily blind his foe, then the terrain itself, leaping from root to root, forcing the heavier warrior to turn and stumble. When the opening came, Takeshi could have taken the head. Instead, he struck the vines at the shoulder joint, severing them. The corrupted samurai staggered. For a moment the red light in his eyes flickered, and a man's terrified face looked out. Mercy? He whispered. After what I have become? Mercy is not weakness, Takeshi said. It is the blade that cuts only what must be cut. He helped the dying warrior to the ground and spoke the death poem he had prepared for himself years ago. Even the longest night ends in the song of the first bird. May your next road be straighter than mine. The vines withdrew. The body crumbled into dark soil that smelled of rain. Where it had fallen, small white flowers bloomed. The glowing leaf in Takeshi's hand grew brighter. He followed it deeper. The air grew warm. The scent of cherry blossoms, impossible in this season, filled his lungs. He stepped into a vast circular glade where a single colossal tree rose like a pillar holding up the sky. Its bark was silver white. Its branches, heavy with eternal blossoms, glowed with soft pink light. At the base of the trunk stood a simple stone altar. Upon it rested a crystal no larger than a fist, pulsing with gentle radiance, the heart of harmony. Guarding it was the forest's true spirit. She appeared as a woman of impossible grace, tall as a spear, with hair like living willow branches and eyes the color of deep forest pools. Armor of bark and living leaves covered her. In one hand she held a staff that had once been a branch of the great tree itself. You have reached the center, Takeshi, she said. Her voice was wind and water and the creak of old wood. Most who arrive ask for power to rewrite their past. What will you ask? Takeshi knelt. He laid Kage no Kiri at her feet, then the glowing leaf, then the white feather. Last, he placed his forehead to the earth. I do not ask to change what happened, he said. I ask only to understand why I was allowed to survive when so many did not. I ask for the wisdom to know when the sword serves life. And when it only serves pride. For a long time the guardian was silent. Then she laughed softly, the sound of leaves in a summer breeze. You have already answered your own question. Ronin. The forest does not grant power to those who seek it for themselves. It lends its strength to those who have learned to listen. She touched his brow with one cool finger. Visions flooded him, not of battles, but of the forest's long memory. He saw the first trees rise from the bones of the world. He saw Kami dancing in the canopy before men ever set foot here. He saw the slow poison of human greed creeping in over centuries, trees cut for castles, rivers choked for rice fields, spirits driven into hiding. And he saw that his own small choice at Takeda Castle had been one bright thread in a much larger tapestry of balance. When the vision faded, the guardian was gone. In his hand he held a single perfect cherry blossom petal that glowed with inner light. His katana had changed. Delicate patterns of leaves and flowing water now ran along the blade. As though the forest had written its own story there, the path out of the forest opened before him like a green river. Takeshi emerged at true dawn. The mist parted. Birds sang. Behind him, the Shirai no Mori stood silent and ancient once more, as though nothing had happened. Yet everything had changed. He did not return to the war-torn provinces seeking a new lord. Instead he became something rarer, a wandering guardian of the in-between places. Where villages encroached too greedily on sacred groves, he appeared. Where travelers were lost in mountain passes, he guided them. He taught the children of woodcutters and farmers the old stories, not to fear the spirits, but to live in balance with them. And on quiet nights, when the moon was high, he would sit beneath a tree, lay his transformed blade across his knees, and listen. Sometimes the wind answered, sometimes it was only the rustle of leaves, but always, he listened.